just a few years ago, robotics felt like the super niche industry, dominated on the one hand by traditional industrial robots. On the other hand, most of the capital, most of the engineering talent was flowing into self-driving cars. This has changed, right? 2024, my social media feed, I don't know about you, my social media feed is just like nonstop autonomy, manufacturing, logistics, defense, robot foundation models. There's thousands of super impressive companies being founded with crazy impressive teams working on super hard problems. What used to be called deep tech is increasingly just tech. The first waves of the AI revolution really skipped over robotics. We saw this huge improvement in the areas of language models and vision models. But again, this has changed. In the past 12 months, we've seen enormous progress in the areas of embodied AI and world models and robot foundation models. Also, huge increase in investment from the investor and VC community. We've seen massive funding rounds going into humanoids, into self-driving cars, into defense tech, into foundation models. So mark my words, I think 2024 is the year that we're going to look back on and say this was when robots went mainstream. Super honored to have you all here today, be part of this journey. We started Foxglove with this mission to increase the GDP of robotics. And this conference is a continuation of that mission. So, I left Cruise in 2020, and really two things were super clear to me. Number one, there is incredible potential for autonomy in the world. We have cars driving around the street of San Francisco today with no one in the front seat, and yet we don't have widely deployed self-driving forklifts, self-driving tractors, self-driving lawnmowers. And the second thing, that I deeply felt is just we're missing this entire ecosystem of developer tools and infrastructure for the robotics industry. Most of the engineering leaders I spoke to were, spending huge amounts of their time focusing on what I consider to be undifferentiated layers of the stack. For the robotics industry to be successful, we need building a robotics startup to look a lot more like building a SaaS business today. SaaS companies today that are being founded are not taking on huge technology risk, right? The founders spend time shipping product, talking to customers, refining their go-to-market fit, focusing on selling, but they're not taking on this huge kind of technology risk. From a technology perspective, most of the hard problems are solved. They're gluing together off-the-shelf infrastructure, off-the-shelf frameworks, and off-the-shelf developer tools. This was not the case 20 years ago, right? If you look back 20 years ago, starting a SaaS business, you would have been out the back racking servers, and you would have been building your own web framework from scratch, so good luck. But contrast this with the robotics industry today. Most robotics companies are taking on, incredible technology risk. I think a lot of the product, focus areas are incredibly obvious. If we could make a robot do that, wow, that would be amazing. But there's this huge kind of technology execution question, like, will you be able to achieve that with this given amount of capital? And so that's kind of the level of maturity. We need to get to this world where starting a robotics company looks more like SaaS. We need people to be, we need early stage robotics startups to be mostly gluing together off-the-shelf hardware, off-the-shelf frameworks, off-the-shelf models, and off-the-shelf infrastructure. And then they can, it gives them more time to spend on focusing on customers, focusing on selling, focusing on product market fit. This is the future that we're working towards at Foxglove. We're not doing it alone. There's a lot of people building in this ecosystem, which is awesome to see. Many of them are here today. If you're interested in joining us on this mission, Foxglove is hiring. We're looking for back-end engineers, front-end engineers, Viz engineers, Rust engineers. I also need a go-to-market and sales, sort of customer-facing robotics engineer. If you're interested in any of those, come talk to anyone, myself or anyone with a Foxglove t-shirt on today. So let's talk about Actuate. Why did we start this conference? This is the first conference. This is our inaugural event. Thank you so much for joining us. The past few years, I've been going to a lot of robotics conferences, and I felt like something was missing. There are a lot of conferences out there. There's a lot of super impressive academic robotics conferences. You can go and learn about the latest advances in research, but to give a talk at these conferences, you need to get a paper accepted. So, I felt that those conferences were missing this sort of industry perspective. On the other hand, we had a lot of sort of sales and business-oriented robotics conferences. These, a lot of people selling integrated robot systems, a lot of people selling, everything from actuators, sensors, servos, a lot of people selling, all manner of hoses and fittings. But I felt like something was missing, right? I felt like we were missing this industry developer perspective. So that's what we've assembled today. We've brought together an incredible lineup of speakers from across the industry, from across different stages of company, from across different form factors. And this is what I get to do every day at Foxglove, right? We get to talk to hundreds of companies that are building in this space, that are creating incredible technology, and I love geeking out on what frameworks are they using, what challenges are they solving, what libraries are they using, where are they running into issues with their scale from prototype to production. But people are not sharing this with each other, right? They all talk to us. It's great. It's under NDA. I can't share it. You all are not sharing it with each other. So we thought, this would be awesome. Let's bring it together. There has not been a public venue where people are sharing stories about how they're shipping robots to production in the industry. So that's what we wanted to create. The response to Actuate has been incredible. We've seen just, I think we sold out a few weeks ago, just non-stop flood of requests for last-minute tickets. So, thank you all for being here. Glad you managed to get one of the tickets. And I would say the other thing is that we had an incredible response from speakers. There were so many amazing speakers that we unfortunately had to turn down because of one-day event. We can only fit in a dozen or so speakers. So, two big lessons for next year. We're going to do it bigger and better. You were here on year one. We're going to do it bigger and better next year. We need a bigger venue, number one. Number two, we need more time for speakers. So either a second day or a second track or something. But yeah, that's you heard it here first. Actuate 2025. So on that note, I want to just say a shout out to all of our incredible speakers. We've got people here today from Adigi, Agility, Blue River, Chef, Collaborative, Electric Sheep, FarmNG, Intrinsic, OpenNav, Open Robotics, Physical Intelligence, Polymath, Resim, Sanctuary, Saronic, Scythe, Skydio, Tangram, and Wave. Give it up for all of our incredible speakers. Woo! All right, and then as well as our speakers, part of this day is about the audience as well, and we've been really blown away with the response, the number of companies coming. There's a huge number of companies here. I really want you to make the most of this event. Go and say hi to someone you don't know. If someone's kind of standing there, looking awkward, just go up and befriend them. Introduce yourself. Build your network. There's such a great community of people here that might be your next coworker. You never know. But just can't list everyone, but just shouting out some of the companies that I did a quick skim of the attendee list. 1X, Escape, Inaugural, Anybotics, Bear Flag, Bedrock, Bot Company, Bosch, Coco, Dexterity, Einride, Greensy, Hello Robot, Lucid Motors, Medra, Mitra, Neuro, NVIDIA, Ocado, Reframe, Serve, Shield, SoftBank, StandardBot, Silicon Valley Robotics, Third Wave, and VW. So that is all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Really, really honored to have you here. And please use this opportunity for networking. Also, like I said, investor interest in the space has picked up a lot. There's, if you're looking to raise money for your robotics company, we've got Boost VC, Pathbreaker, Eclipse, Andreessen Horowitz, Conviction Capital, Innovation Ventures, iSeed, Zora Innovation, and Altimeter. So a lot of investors in the audience too. Before we move on to our first speaker, just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So Resim. Simulation for robotics. You go out there's a lot of resources on simulation for robotics. Like 99% of it focuses on local simulation. How do you run this simulator, get it up and running on your desktop? Cool. You want to go to production, you're going to be running thousands, you're going to be running hundreds of thousands, you're possibly going to be running millions of simulations. Resim are building that infrastructure platform to run all your sims at scale. And also, unlike CI 1.0, simulation infrastructure for robots needs to heavily focus on metrics, metric-driven outcomes, so they're focusing on that aspect of it too. So go chat to Resim if you're having simulation problems. Tangram, multimodal calibration is hard, gets harder. Every sensor you add to your robot. Tangram have this whole stack from sort of early R&D through to, and early R&D calibration with ground truth through to production, online calibration, and, continuous recalibration. They also recently launched this hi-fi sensor. It's a 3D image depth sensor. So if you're having calibration problems, go chat to Tangram. Unitree, don't need any introduction. Unitree make amazing, lots of form factors, quadrupeds, humanoids, very low-cost hardware used in a lot of labs. Go chat to them. They're upstairs. They're going to be giving a demo. Pathbreaker, we talk a lot about the headline $100 million plus funding rounds. Pathbreaker, one of the investors in Foxglove. What you really want to focus on is who's investing at the early stage, right? Pathbreaker have been doing 8 years of seed and pre-seed and hardware robotics. So if you're doing early stage, go talk to them. And finally, Eclipse, thank you for their support. Back in, quick story about Eclipse. They led our Series A. Back in 2021, I started thinking about our Series A, and I went out with this pitch of we're going to build infrastructure for the robotics industry, and got laughed out of the room by most of the investors because if you put your mind back in 2021, let's just say most of the investors were pretty stoked about crypto and NFTs. And also every investor gave me the story about this one robotics company they invested in a few years ago that failed or wasn't doing well. So, shout out to Eclipse. They've been doing 8 years investing in hardware, manufacturing, logistics. Really were able to think from first principles, and they've been a great partner for us at Foxglove. Also, quick shout out, Andrea Kay from Silicon Valley Robotics and Kat Scott from Open Navigation. Saw them around. They've been super helpful in helping to promote this event, so thank you all.